Don't take my picture. Shut up, Neil.
Thank you all
Hey,
for
sucker.
coming. We're gathered here for a very special occasion. First, we're going to begin this ceremony with the pledge to the flag. Please, if you can stand, do so.
Henry, you got my phone?
Jimmy, would you lead us?
Well, you can't stand.
Yeah, you're gonna fall.
He wants to stand. Yes, that's all right. Hang on to it.
There you go.
Tina's got the other
United
side.
States of America, and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bring back.
God bless you.
Ray, would you please
I'm Jehovah now.
join us in a word of prayer, please?
Lord, we gather here today to honor good men who served their country diligently. We think about them going to foreign countries like Vietnam and other war areas, and bullets and mortar shells flying all around them, and just thank you for bringing them safe home. And also bless their families who waited and worried about them until they came home. Bless our leaders of the country. Help them to be strong and wise. Help the men and women in government, and give us honest, wise leaders. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Get on your scooter, Chloe.
Get up there with Papa.
Say, hey, get on your scooter with Papa.
Get up there with
Say,
Papa.
move your leg.
Look,
Get on your
get up there with
scooter.
Papa. Get up there.
Yeah.
Get that on film.
Let me ride it down.
She's his co-pilot.
He rides it down.
Okay, bear with me because I'm having to read this because I can't see. This is my very first Quilt of Valor presentation. It was 10 years ago that Ray and I lost 3 nephews to PTSD.
One of them. One's the fan, and one's the light. Better?
Is Winona
I'm here.
interpreting?
I'm here.
Okay. When I began to remember, oh, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, don't cry, I got mascara on.
Okay.
Cost me a lot of money for that mascara.
Anyway, I began to remember in April when we were honoring the 3 nephews that had passed away. They'd lost their battle to PTSD. And I remembered my own brothers who answered the call to serve their country. It was such... These boys were but 18 years old when they were drafted. I was 17 when Jim joined the Navy to see the world. And he was sent to the freezing snow and ice-covered base in Great Lakes, Illinois. He was shot. A little over 2 years later, in the midst of anti-war hippie demonstrations, Barry received his call to service, his draft notice. He decided to join the Marines and was sent to boot camp way out in California. And then on to Vietnam for 13 long months. He was on a sightseeing tour because he went back 3 times. He liked it. One day, one trip when he came home, he walked into Mom's kitchen. And Mom had gone to Schwagerna's. And Barry walked in and he saw a can of Spam on the table. He picked hummed it into the garbage. He said, I never want to see another can of Spam as long as I live. Well, buddy,
Garbage can out.
it's back.
That's all right, we still eat it.
You like it 50 years later, I still eat. You really still enjoy it.
But you have to remember, he had been up on the demilitarized zone for a month. And they didn't have these luscious MREs like we got after Katrina.
That was a get right place, get your mind right.
They gave him a case of Spam and said, good luck, boy. So he was up on the DMZ for 30 days with Spam. He learned several things. His first tour, while he was up on the DMZ, he learned how you dye elephants pink. And he radioed and said, I think I've been here too long. Can you get somebody to get me out of here? And they said, why? He said, I'm seeing pink elephants. Give us the coordinates. And they were. They had been rolling around in red clay, and they were pink, and it was the DC coming in. That's the only story he told me from his words. Now let's move on. After Barry's third tour, was it three tours, Barry?
Yeah.
After his third tour in Vietnam, yes, he liked the country, he went back.
I heard he liked the women.
About 4 years later, I think it was,
My other brothers and sisters over there.
I think it was about 4 years later that Joey joined the Marines. It was 4 years or so. Yeah. And Joey received his draft notice and his invitation to travel.
Never got a draft notice.
No?
Amen. No.
Volunteered at the start. Okay. And?
He heard about the women, huh?
No, Barry told me about all the money you could make over
Yeah, war pay was a little extra, huh?
Well, that's why he went back.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Joey came home one time to see his new baby nephew, Davey. Remember that?
Yeah.
Woke you up, handed you the baby. Take care of this. Now remember, guys, these young men, they were only 17 or 8, they were 18.
Justin's age, yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine going to Vietnam?
Shit,
I asked Joey one time if he ever prayed when he was in Vietnam. He said, sure. I was face down in a rice paddy with bullets flying over my head. I prayed. Everybody did.
Amen.
Well, last May I began seeing more information than ever before about the different organizations that were helping the veterans. One of them was Operation Homefront, which that organization generally helps through churches. Like if I saw a story recently where the husband was going to be deployed and the wife was expecting, and they had several children. And they wanted her to go back home to where her parents were because he would be gone when the baby came. So the Operation Homefront helped pay their moving expenses, which the government didn't do that. And that way she could go home with the children to be with the family. Other organizations that helped was Operation Blessing. You know, they were here in New Orleans area after Katrina, and they did a lot of work to help veterans. Another one is the Wounded Warrior Foundation, which I'm part of, a member of that. And the Wounded Warrior Foundation has done so much to enable and help our veterans. They do counseling and help them with jobs and all kinds of things. And then my personal favorite is the Quilt of Valor Foundation, which I joined last year. In 2003, a lady named Catherine Roberts had a son named Nate, and he was in Iraq. And one night she had a dream about wrapping her son in a quilt to know his mother thought of him when he was loved. The mission from there, the Quilt of Valor Foundation began after that. And the mission statement of the Quilts of Valor Foundation is to cover service members, doesn't have to be a person in the service, and veterans touched by war with comforting Quilts of Valor. Now I'd like Barry and Jimmy, would y'all come up and help Barry? Joey, can you come up here?
Hang on, Chloe.
Chloe's still right.
And
Is she still? Yeah, she is.
turn around so your granddaughter can get that picture. Can you steer that, or are you like those people at Walmart and back up there?
No, he got it.
Can you get
Oh, you already got it.
It's got it.
Oh, yeah, you guys are good at that.
Talented.
I'd like the wives, Jay and Judy, could you come forward, please?
Kim.
Growling.
Oh, I got
Happy
one wife.
occasion, not a growl.
You only got what?
One wife.
You got her. There's no other way to put up with your crap.
Y'all getting close.
That's low. Well, I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, yeah, we got, never mind, we got kids here.
On behalf of the Wounded Warrior Foundation, I'd like to take this opportunity to present a Quilt of Valor to America's finest. Take them out of the bag and wrap it around. Take them out of the bags and wrap them around. Open it up. Whoops.
Well, let me see it. I think you need to see it first.
That's we put it on you and then it's yours.
Oh, mine?
That you off.
Wow, that is a surprise.
Surprise!
Notice on the back there's a label. Not every quilt gets to be a Quilt of Valor. There's a label on the back at the top.
Wow,
With their picture.
wow.
You're beautiful work, Gloria.
The way it goes.
Joe. And I picture.
Oh, they're bouncing.
It comes
Grab
like
them like
this.
little
Turn around.
mummies.
Turn around.
Oh, I can't do better than that.
It goes like this.
Ah.
Now,
Like a cake.
It's like a cake, yeah.
the Quilt of Valor is designed.
It is. Yes,
Pull up.
The Quilt of Valor is designed in a certain way, a certain size. It was mostly, at the very beginning, it was to cover young wounded men as they lay in their hospital gurney. So it's a specific size, has to be of a specific fabric and lining, and it has to have a label, and you're each presented a certificate. This is Joey Aguzin.
Wow. That's nice.
Jim.
I'd like to,
Good job,
on
Chloe.
behalf of all of the men and women who have served in combat, and especially those who didn't make it back.
Exactly.
Those that were injured, paraplegics, missing limbs, PTSD, suffering most of their lives.
I checked on the Quilt of Valor website last night. Since 2003, when Catherine Roberts began the foundation, 209,620 Quilts of Valor have been presented.
Wow.
They're never donated. There's always a presentation, and if it was donated, it would be like passing out magazines. But it's the design for a specific individual to honor their service to this country. I'd like to say one more thing, and I hope you'll join me. Welcome home.
And thank you. I want to see something.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't cry, because of my family. I cried for that a lot. Come back from the way no harm, still alive, at least. That's the one I cried for. That's right.
It's a bad thing. Jim, what you want to say?
Thank you.
I want to tell y'all, me and my mother prayed. She told me one time, she said, we have heroes for America, but we have two brothers that are heroes in our family.
That's right.
We had many, many people praying for both of them, for their safety, for their courage and strength. They always been my heroes.
And I'd like to just tell you, on the back of their quilts, there's a label, and the label says, I have to hold to you, Joey Aguzin. I'm sorry, it's like I'm drunk. It lists his name, and originally we were going to have this presentation on December the 29th, and I used up my label, so they have something to talk about. Today is not December the 29th. Also, it lists the person who pieced the quilt top, which was myself, and the quilted part was done by Navy Special Assistant to the Aviation Department, Darla Napier in Missouri. Her husband was a Vietnam veteran, class of '66. And he did all the pictures for me, printed them on fabric. And I'm just really grateful to both of them for their help. And she also sent me the Marine Corps emblem and the Navy emblem for my brothers. I was really appreciative of that, because you can't buy them anymore.
Beautiful.
I want to say one other thing. All three of us joined the service. I tried to get the Marines 3 times and they wouldn't allow it because I was deaf in 1 ear and I had a few other problems. But I joined the Navy, I was 17 years old. My mother signed 2 months before I made 18 to join the service. I went, I was a reservist, and I went to boot camp and they kicked me out of the service. I have a medical discharge,
Right.
but it's an honorable discharge. Now, these 2 men that fought in Vietnam,
It don't make you no less or nothing.
That's right. No, it doesn't.
Now, let me explain
Don't
to
think
you.
no different of you?
A service member, recently they presented Quilts of Valor to the men and women in Delaware at the facility where the bodies of the veterans are brought back from overseas. And These men and women, some of them are civilian doctors. They serve. They represented Quilts of Valor. Some of them also have PTSD from their jobs.
Well, when they came back, PTSD was just an alphabet still. It wasn't. They didn't know what PTSD was when they came back.
Yes, even in World War II, they had problems, but they didn't have a name.
Exactly.
But anyway, on conclusion, I would like to say, welcome home.
Yeah.
You were never welcome. You're here now.
When they came to California, the people over there was spitting on
Yeah,
them,
hippies.
calling
Yeah.
them baby
Baby
killers
killers,
and everything. They never did say that they were the freedom fighters for America.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
So,
No, they weren't treated that way, man.
that's right.
They fought a war that they should not have ever had to fight.
That's right.
Gloria, I have something to add to what Jim Todd said.
Okay?
Jim, Barry, Joey, in all of your travels through your life, there was, even when you were young and kids, there was one constant, strong force that stayed until she drew her last breath. That person was not a president. She wasn't a Louisiana senator. She was my Aunt Violet. When you guys were growing up and serving, she worried and prayed